All right. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your break. You had a nice lunch. You got to, a time to regroup and everything. Um, so we're back again. A reminder: we are recording this. So if you do miss something, you want to go back, it's going to be on our website. We put the link in the chat. I'll put it again, so you can always refer back to the workshop from today and the previous webinar. So Dr. Michael Rodriguez is here. He will be doing the hidden curriculum in STEM. So briefly, a little background about him. Dr. Rodriguez has an MD and an MPH. He is a professor and vice chair of the Department of Family Medicine at David Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA, and is a professor in the Department of Community Health at the UCLA Fielding School of Public Health, and is a founding chair of the UCLA Global Health Minor, founding director of the Health Equity Network of the Americas, co-director of the UCLA Firearm Violence Prevention Center, and founder and director of UCLA Blum Center and Poverty on Health in Latin America. Dr. Rodriguez is published widely in the areas of research that includes ethnic, racial, and immigrant health, equity, gun and inmate partner violence prevention, and primary care systems. He has also consulted for the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and Pan American Health Organizations, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the Institute of Medicine. So he has a lot of accolades, a lot of experience, and a lot of wisdom to share with each and every one of us, including me. So I'm going to be listening and paying attention to. So we would like to welcome Dr. Rodriguez. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that very kind welcome and introduction, and the music. Oh, I loved it. Yeah, it was sound good. Somebody said that the best sellers were from STEM. I used to be in an organization and of a pre-med organization, and we were known as those people who threw the best parties too. So indeed, it's all a tribute to recognizing that you can pursue a STEM career and party at the same time, and party afterwards as well. In fact, yeah, a good friend of mine went to undergraduate, and we were both pre-meds, and she's a pediatrician now, and I'm a family physician. Her daughter just graduated from Stanford Law, so we had a good time this weekend celebrating that. I want to also add that this first generation background that I'm in is not just is here because I'm first gen as well. My parents are from were from Mexico, my mother, and my father was from El Salvador. He passed away about 10 years ago. And neither of them graduated from high school. And so when I first heard, I was pretty lost. I didn't really have anybody to guide me in terms of what to do, where to go, and so that's partly why I'm here, because I felt pretty alone and challenging, and there are things that are written down and that you get when you arrive at the school that you go to that help to provide you with some information about what you need to do, what time your classes is, and whatnot. But there's also lots of things that they don't say, and those are the things that really caught me off guard, because I wasn't aware of that. And that's sometimes what's referred to as this hidden curriculum. There are those things that are sort of written, official, and those things that are unwritten, unofficial. And some folks, some of our colleagues and peers, well, they have some sense of some of this curriculum already, and some of that maybe because their parents went to college, maybe are professionals, and they were able to pass it on, or maybe they went to a school that was different than my high school, and provided them with information to help them with the transition. And so the purpose of this workshop or this discussion uh, and discussion is really to check in with you all and to sort of see what, not only to share some of my experiences, tell you a little bit about some things that I found that were helpful with regards to this hidden curriculum, and also to respond to your questions, because you're what it's about. You're the future, and so just talk for a little bit. If anything I say, kind of rings a bell or makes you have a question, please, by all means, put something in the chat, and I'll try to address it. And if I can't something, well then I'll look and connect you all with people who I think might be able to help you. Okay, and so, but ultimately, this is about sort of thinking about the rest of your university or studies, possibly transferring to a university like the UCLA or other place, and kind of giving you an idea about some of the things that might help you, if that is your goal, to be successful with that goal. And so, so yeah, because like I said, for me, I learned that, and so I remember it as an undergraduate, but I also see it as a professor. So I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of undergraduates, maybe thousands of undergraduates, yeah, easily, thousands of undergraduates in my career. And some folks make it, and other folks aren't. And so I don't know all the little sort of assumptions that go along. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. There's a question here that is first gen for students whose parents were born in other countries, or for students who will be the first in their family to go to college. And so it is the latter. First gen is in general refers to somebody who's the first person to graduate from college. Okay, because many people have parents who went to college but may not have been able to have graduated. So so yes, not necessarily someone who is from whose parents were from another country, as were slash mine. But it's a good question, because when you think about the characteristics of folks who may not have sort of that knowledge about some of these sort of unwritten rules, unwritten expectations, people whose parents were born in other countries would fall under that, even if they maybe went to college somewhere else. There may be different expectations in other countries than there are here, and so that's a good point. It isn't. It is one sometimes underrepresented minorities, folks who are low income, folks who are first gen, folks who are international students. All of those fall under this overall rubric, and so that's why I'm happy to share my experiences. When I came, I was afraid, frankly. I went to Berkeley as an undergraduate. I'll just tell you just a snippet. And then I went to UCLA as a medical student. And after UCLA, I came back to UCSF, and I did my residency there at the San Francisco General Hospital in San Francisco in family medicine. And I wanted to study public health as well. And so I went to Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland. And so I did that. And I at that point in my life, I always seen myself as this West Coast kind of person. So I wanted to make sure I had something to go back to. And at Stanford, got accepted. And so I did my MPH. It was a 1 year. In 1 year, you're able to get MPH if you have this professional training. And then went to Stanford and did a postdoc program doing research as a change agent. And I say that because I'm assuming that many of you who are here may identify as a change agent. And a change agent is somebody who wants to change this world for the better. Somebody who sees some of the issues that we have, the challenges that we have, that many different communities have, and realizes that we need to do some things to change the way things happen, the way business goes about happening, so that all people, everybody, no matter who you are, has access to healthcare, has ability and the opportunity to have good health, and to help them then to have a life and to thrive and to do what they want and what might be their passion. So those are really important things. Some kinds of questions and issues that I found particularly helpful and realize that make a big difference once you sort of get to wherever you're going is to look around and connect with especially other people who are. And so, and some folks may call them mentors. Some people may just call them friends who are who you meet, and you might meet them if you're in some level of housing, or you can meet them if you join an organization that may in some way resonate with who you are, what you want to be, but also with your personal side too. Maybe you have people who are like you, and so for me, that was working and finding a Latino pre-med or pre-health organization. It was pre-med, it was pre-health. It was called Chicanos for Health Education, and so that helped me to then connect with folks and meet some older people who were like a couple of years ahead of me. And they then were able to help answer, give me some ideas, talk to me about courses and whatnot. There's two things I do want to underscore that I have found to be very helpful, general things that will be reemphasized with some of the things I talked about. That ultimately, to make it forward, at least in my experience, it is, first, it's helpful to get the feeling that you can drive your future. And most of you should feel that way because you're here right now. And you wouldn't be here if you weren't taking intentional steps to do something to help you achieve that dream, that goal that you want to have. In science, we call that self-efficacy. That's the word. So it's having confidence in your ability to have some control and over your future. That involves self-motivation. It can be as simple as getting up out of the bed in the morning. But it can also involve a number of other behaviors that make you go above and beyond what you have to, and make you seek social environments that are enriching and help you with what your dream is. It this social efficacy, this self-efficacy, I should say, is something that gives you the feeling that you can manage challenges and setbacks, because I had mine, many. This is part of life, is setbacks. I say that with all truth and sincerity, that I've had more setbacks, okay, more things that I did not get than what I got. And that's a process of feeling like, doesn't matter. I'm going to continue to persevere. And I've found that those people who do not give up, who have that vision, who continue to sort of find those connections and those resources to help them to overcome whatever challenges they find, are the people who ultimately reach their dreams. And so I'm here to support you with that. So that's one piece, self-efficacy, which I'm sure many of you already have. In fact, all of you have it. It's just about tapping into it. All of you have this self-efficacy. All of you have the potential to do this. It's just believing in yourself. Related to that, the self-efficacy also helps you with self-advocacy. Self-advocacy is that part of you who then feels the comfort to speak up when you have the opportunity, for example, to improve something. Now, that might be speaking up during or typing a chat or raising your hand or whatever during a Zoom to say, Dr. Rodriguez, your mute's on, we can't hear you, or whatever. Because, hey, people can't hear you. Hear this person who's speaking, then there's a problem. You're advocating to improve something. It can also be bigger. It can be advocating, for example, for some of the things that I've worked on to prevent violence, and to have investment in communities so there are alternatives to violence, and hope, and positive role models, and positive opportunities for good education to pursue. So you can think about the prevention as opposed to solely focusing on the police as a source to help us, when, as we know, unfortunately, many times it's not a help for us. And so it's self-efficacy and it's self-advocacy. And that's self-advocacy is having the confidence that in your inner voice that says something's not right, or speak up because you know something that's a little bit different than what you're hearing. And your perspective is important. That's your gift. That's part of what you bring to a school, a classroom. And that's part of what makes you so powerful. And so all of you have these gifts, have these experiences that are unique to you. And so I do want you to think about that and as two pieces that will help you as you move forward. The curriculum pieces, this hidden curriculum pieces, are wide range, and we're not going to. They are as I said, the things that are not written. I'll touch on a few, but ultimately, it's thinking about what are the skills that is going to help you to overcome any kind of challenges that you may encounter, and what are the skills that are going to help you with that. Sometimes it's when and how to ask instructors for help, and how do you go about doing that, and how you may take advantage of the instructors' hours, right? Office hours that they have, so that you can connect, and how to approach that in a way that may help you present your strongest suits, and impress somebody the same way that you might want to impress somebody who you like. Same thing. You want to have a good first impression. Same thing with professors. We're there, we sit there, and the first thing we do before you even open up your mouth is we see how you walk through the door. We see what you're wearing. We see whether you come in with a smile or you come in with your head down. All these nonverbal aspects of how we carry ourselves impacts. And so that's one whole area. And it is an opportunity. I was afraid. I'll say right now, I was afraid. I remember having this professor and meeting her, and it took me so long to say hello to her, and she invited me to her home for like a brunch. I didn't know what brunch was. And they had this table, beautiful home, the view, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And this table full of food, and I was just checking it out. Some food I'd never seen before in my life. And I just was like standing against the wall, like somebody who's at a dance who didn't know how to dance, okay? Who just like, oh my God, I don't want to dance, you know? I just didn't feel like I could do it. And so that's what I did. I just stayed there the whole time till I could, I felt like, okay, I've been there long enough, I can now leave. It took me time to gather the comfort to be able to speak with faculty and professors and treat them like they are just regular old people. Nothing special. No more special than your parents or the gardener, the person who cooks. We're all people. We all have different gifts. Similarly, how you select courses and how you choose a course, how you select which professor to take it if you have an option, because it makes an enormous difference. Your ability, your potential success based on knowing a little bit of history that other students usually share about this faculty person being like this and that faculty person being like that. And some people may have a practice and a way of teaching and testing that make it very difficult to do exceedingly well. And other faculty maybe don't have so many challenges for many students, and those students share that usually in many of the different spaces that exist. And so that's important. It's important for your success. But believe me, all I could want is for you to sort of make whatever dreams you want to have true. and help you be successful as possible. So really, it's this person who sort of takes a look and sees what you can do. More and more so, the group work is a big component of many different things that we do. Many of the STEM classes have labs. And many of those labs require group work. And so having a sense of how you're going to work with others, learning about your interpersonal interactions, working with other folks who may have totally different backgrounds than you, but afterwards you find out that even if you do, you can be best of friends. I remember meeting this one person whose father was a neurosurgeon. I was at Berkeley. His father was a neurosurgeon at UCSF. Wrote the big textbook and all that neurosurgery. And I was like, oh my God, and I thought this guy was going to be unreachable. And yet he was the most grounded person, one of the most grounded people that I met. And so, not to give any stereotypes, because in fact, it really is important to meet people wherever they are and understand. Another area is studying for college exams and realizing that one component is having effective study techniques, because if you don't have them, it's going to be challenging. But also, some of that has to do with realizing and understanding what the professor's expectations are. And that may not be so clear, but many times you learn that there are old examinations or that one can look at to kind of get a sense of, by that same instructor, to get a sense of what they saw, what kind of things they tested for. So you have a sense of the kind of things that they're looking for. Really important. And so another kind of big category here. And as I think about categories, I also think about the things to take care of. And that really is yourself. So many times we sort of get so anxious, so focused on our work that we don't take care of ourselves. And so I just want to make a note here, note to everybody here, that taking care of yourself is a priority. It will help you to succeed. And that also means taking care of your community, helping us to make this experience one of community. So perhaps you may be able to cope with something, but there may be your friend or your classmate who you can see is stressed, may seem like they may have anxiety or depression symptoms, or you may. And so seeking out support for those. I sort of am very sort of not happy that Simone Biles did not move forward and do some of the things that she was going to do, but happy that she was strong enough to realize that she needed to take a step back and take care of herself. And that was very powerful. And we all need to do that and move away from the feeling of not acknowledging what's there and what we need to take care of, which is ourselves, our feelings, some of the sources, some of the different challenges that many of us may have. Some of that may be coming from our own challenges that we're having. Some of that may happen because of the family pulls and ties, and our parents or our sisters or other family members, challenges that are going on in those families. Very difficult Having a resource here at UCLA, they call it Counseling and Psychological Services, also known as CAPS. But most places have some resources. And so I strongly encourage you to, first of all, just take some preventive actions to help you stay calm and grounded. Sometimes it's breathing exercises, sometimes it's meditation, sometimes it's just getting some exercise, regular exercise, eating well. Try to do those things that you know are good for you. And when you need a little help, use that self-efficacy, that self-advocacy piece, and advocate for your own wellness. Really important. I talked about the classes, and I talked about how you sort of maneuver yourself. And so a couple of things that are going to be very common in many of the STEM courses. Find them. And those sometimes referred to as primary sources. And so that part is important to have some awareness of. There's many different resources to help you with that, but just to be aware that having the skill set that to know how you find scientific articles, whether it be through Web of Science, there are different types of search engines. Web of Science is one of them. PubMed is another, especially for health. Google Scholar, yet another one. But having a sense of them, having some comfort around that, and then having some comfort about reading scientific articles. And there are articles that are coming out all the time. You may, if you're interested, just think about what you're interested in. What is it that you're interested in? And look at some articles and look at the different parts of the articles. Usually if it's a research article, has different sections, the introduction, the methodology, the results, the discussion. Each of them have these different parts. You don't have to know all the language and all the methodology, but realize that an expectation will be your ability to have some familiarity with reading scientific articles. And as you move on, especially for some of you who are transferring and you're going to sort of have upper division courses, there will be a number of different articles that you'll need to read. And so being able to realize that you may not have the time to go into all, you probably won't have the time to go into all of them in depth. And so thinking about those parts of the articles that are most important for you to read for in that particular course. The course you take may have some emphasis on the methods, the way in which the research is done, or more information and interest on some of the outcomes that they found. So all of those are really important. A couple other things, again, around the concept of research. Many folks, especially as part of their work, are interested in doing research. And I had no idea what I would do or how I would do it. But when I was planning to study for my MCAT, which is the test that you take in order to go to medical school, or one of the tests that they look at as part of the application process for medical school. I needed a summer. I was going to study it during the summer, and I needed a job to keep myself afloat. And so I saw this flyer that said human subjects. And it said, go to this professor. And I had taken a course with this professor. So I said, okay, I'm going to go take this course. And so I did. And I went to talk to her and I said, look, Dr. Fleming, that's her name, Dr. Sharon Fleming. Dr. Fleming, can you, I saw this flyer. I'm interested in being a human subject. she saw me and she kind of laughed a little bit. And she goes, Michael, I remember you from the class. And she goes, how about instead of a human subject, you be a research assistant? And I went, I didn't think about that. And so my first question was, does it pay as much as the human subject? Because I had already figured out that's how much money I needed. And she laughed. And she said, yes, it does. And so I said, okay, fine. And unbeknownst to me, I had run into somebody who was just a wonderful mentor and professor who, and I worked on that project that I was going to volunteer on. And believe me, I was very happy that I was not a human subject. Okay. And I can answer why if you're curious in the question and answer, but worked with her for a bit over than a year, collected the data, helped her with the analysis, and helped her write the paper, and became a co-author. And it was the most amazing experience I had. Now, you don't have to go do what I did. There's a lot of different amazing opportunities to reach out to professors who may be doing something that you're interested in, and then talk to them about your interest in helping out and with their research. Or often, most places have programs for students over the summer or during the year to do research. And so you can work in labs, or you can work in doing a wide range of things. So I just want you to think about that ahead of time. So how you have an opportunity to sort of think about how you might do this, who you might go talk to. You can talk, and this is another thing that you can talk to professors about in their office hours, even when you don't, you're not taking a course with them. You can still write them and say, what time are your office hours? I'd like to come and talk to you about research. And we are very happy to do so, even if you're not enrolled in our course, because we always like to talk about our research. And so that's important. I also want to tell you that when you go to campus, one of the things I learned is that there's a wide range of resources that are there. And sometimes if we're not aware, then we don't tap into them. But there are many, first of all, there are many different organizations that might benefit you just from connecting with people, but also benefit you in terms of learning from others. There are different programs for mentoring services and leadership development, other programs to help you with your writing. I certainly needed lots of help with my writing. And so I was at these different help centers. And sometimes they're called academic support system centers or other things, but most schools have them, where you have tutors helping students, scholars programs where you can sign up for that may help you and you're part of a group. All of these are different aspects of a hidden curriculum of universities. And learning and knowing that you can overcome it, that you can figure things out, that you can connect to people and meet folks who may be your mentors, who may be your professors, and be able to then help you to navigate this system, is one that you will learn and one that will help you to move forward, just as this program and this series of workshops is doing for you. That helps everyone to have a set of tools. I also want to encourage you that when you find something, tell someone else about it. Share the resources so we can have as many people as possible having the tools necessary to navigate academia, STEM programs, majors, for all undergraduates of all backgrounds to succeed. That helps to make science more accessible and inclusive. And that's why I'm thankful to have the opportunity to have been here, to chat with you a little bit about this hidden curriculum, and now to answer any questions you may have about anything that may be of interest. So whether it be about hidden curriculum, my experience, or whatever. So I want to stop. I want to give you some time to ask me a few questions if you have any. I also want to let you know that my email, which I will put here for everyone, is accessible. I give it to you here so you don't have to look it up, but if you had ever were interested, you could certainly have gone to UCLA and looked for directory and found me, and you would have found my email as well. So these are all the different ways in which you can connect and you can find professors. So let's see, I have questions here. What was the first research project about? All right, just briefly, the first research project was, so you all know about dietary fiber. You may have heard of dietary fiber, and you may know that beans are a source of dietary fiber. They're also a source of protein and very low cost. So they're a good, nutritious food. One problem, they give you gas. So, yeah, and they make some people bloated, right? And so this professor, she said, well, you know what? There's some places where they eat this all the time. So maybe there's some adaptation of the gut. So human subjects was give some beans to people who have been eating beans for a long time, and give some people who have not been eating beans some beans, okay, for like about, 6 weeks. Every day, big old, and then measure their flatus production, okay? You can imagine what kind of things they had to do in order to measure the amount of gas that's produced. And so that's why I had no idea. I'm going, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm not even a subject. But I was glad I was doing the research. What was your journey? Let's say, what did the subjects do in the study that you were research assistant for? Okay, so now you know a little bit more about that. But I was published, co-author in the Journal of Nutrition, my first publication. What was your journey like through medical school? What was the most challenging obstacle you encountered? Well, when I went to medical school, I did the same thing I did when I went to undergraduate. When I went to undergraduate, I went to find people who were like me. And so I went and I moved into this Chicano cooperative. Remember, this is back in the 70s, okay? And so I did this Chicano cooperative, very politically, engaged, and in the struggle, and so met some friends. Some friends who are still my friends now. In fact, I just hung out with one of them. We did 20 miles up in Oakland this past weekend. And so 20 miles on a bicycle. And so at Berkeley, at UCLA, I looked for that same connection and club and organization, and connected and found some other folks who are Latinos to get some support. This one person said, what did you do to help you? He was a third year. I moved into his apartment. He was going into his third year. I was going to my first year. He goes, well, one thing I do, I became president of my school, of my class. And I went, oh, wow. He goes, yeah. All you got to do is get out there and start talking to folks and organize. And I was lucky. I go, okay, I'm going to do that too. And so I did that, and I became president of my first class. So started great until I didn't pass the test. Pharmacology, I was having lots of difficulty. It was amazing memorization. And I passed it. And then I didn't pass one of the boards. They have a boards where you go from second year to third year. And that was challenging too. Fortunately, the school helps you. So I had my moments and my challenges of passing tests. Fortunately, most schools, most medical schools, professional schools, once they accept you, they want to help you to succeed as well, and as did UCLA for me. And so it made it possible for me to be able to make it through. It was tough. I had my good times. I also had my challenging times. And so say, what if we're really not that interested in research? Should we still try it? You don't need to try it at all. That you should do whatever you're passionate about. So if that passion has you want to volunteer in a community or some organization, do it. But it is important to have some kind of extracurricular. So research is considered, and this is connected to another question related to extracurricular activities. Research is related to an extracurricular. Now I'm talking about from the perspective of medicine or public health, right? There may be some of the STEM may actually want you to do some research if it's more hardcore bench research that you're going to, but in the medical, dental, nursing, public health, that you don't have to do research. But you do need to demonstrate your passion, your willingness to put your time into something outside of coursework and to give, and it can be anything. It can be sports. If you're great in soccer or volleyball, adelante, right? Go forward. But try to be a leader. Give, do something. Whatever burns your inner flame. That's what's important. What kind of extracurricular? Okay. What do you think? Yeah, so yeah, that's what medical. We're not. There's no one thing. You don't have to be a volunteer in a hospital or anything like that. You just have to be you, and be unafraid to give your person, your love, your passion, and pour it into something. It may sound weird to you. You may be worried, but if you do it, then you will stand out like the wonderful person that you are. Let's see, what was your? I was a nutrition major. And I'm just reading through the chat here. Were there ever times in your journey to your career where you questioned whether you could make it or not? Yes, many times. Many times. If so, how did you overcome this? Okay, Gloria Gaynor. Okay, what song did she sing? Anybody know? You can put it in your chat. She sang that, yes, I will survive. That was it. Okay. And I put that song on and I listened to it. And I survived. And that was one of the things. And I cried. I allowed myself to cry also. I would sometimes cry. You know, you just gotta like let it out. We're people. We hurt. We're traumatized sometimes. God, when we feel pain, you gotta feel it. You gotta let it out. You gotta make it happen. And take a deep breath and move on. Okay, yeah, that was tough. I keep on going up that mountain. Because if you do, you will make it. You will make it. I believe in you. I see you all. You have the power to do it. If we're not too sure about a career path that we're interested in and would like to shadow professionals, what are the starting steps to network or reach out to professionals for shadowing? Many times there are mentoring organizations that professionals have so you can look for a mentoring organization or an organization that of these professionals, and they will frequently have people who volunteer. You can also just reach out to somebody and say, hey, and think about approaching them, letting them know that you're perhaps intrigued, interested about what they do and would like to sort of spend some time with them. What I encourage you to do to reach out is I do encourage you to try to do your homework, whatever the case may be, whomever you're going to reach out to and whenever you reach out to them. Try to find out some information about her or him or whatever they are. And what they're interested in, what they do. So you demonstrate your interest, you demonstrate your willingness to sort of to go beyond the basics. And when you go meet them, don't go in shorts, even if it's hot. Try to dress neatly, almost like you're going for an interview. Because again, you want to show your best side. And you want to sort of not have them thinking about, wow, how come this person come here with ripped jeans? Remember, many of us faculty members are conservative. So you just want to try to do your best. And they are there. And wherever all around you, I just want to remind you, there are people to support you. So I encourage you to look, take advantage, and then you will be some of those helpers to help other people along when you're out there in the lights doing important work. So on that note, it's time for me to say thank you so much. I wish you a fantastic day. I really appreciated your patience and your great questions. And reach out to me if I can help in any other way. Okay? All the best. Thanks. Peace out.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rodriguez. We really, really appreciate your words of wisdom and encouragement. And even for me, like I'm pre-med and I'm over here crying because I'm like, I'm about to take the MCAT and I'm like, oh. So like a lot of the words that you were sharing are things that I'm kind of just now realizing after I finished my BA, BS. And I'm like, oh man, I should have done that when I was an undergrad, but now it's never too late. So I'm starting to do that now. So thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your encouragement. We really, really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And yes, it is never too late. You can always do it. I've had people in their 30s, many people in their 30s, going to medical school, going to other things, switching careers. You can always follow your passion and make it happen.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. You all take care. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, everyone. So we're gonna have a brief 10-minute break. So I'm gonna play some music and then we're gonna set up for the next workshop. So we're having a graduate student panel. So we've invited from some graduate students from the Department of Chem and Biochemistry at UCLA to share their experiences, answer some questions for you all. So I have a list of questions I will be asking them, but then also similar to how we did with Dr. Rodriguez, you'll be having the opportunity to ask your own questions. If you're interested in getting into research, or you're interested in pursuing a master's or a PhD in a science. So this is something that we thought would be really useful for a lot of you. So please have your questions and you'll be given the opportunity to say or ask your questions, all right? So we'll be back at 2:10 and then we'll get started.
Misuse of your influence. Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Toast to the ones here today. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories. And the memories bring back your. There's a time that I remember when I did not know no pain. When I believed in forever, everything would stay the same. Now my heart feel like December when somebody say your name. Well, I can't reach out to call you, but I know I will one day. Yeah. Everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday. Yeah, yeah. But everything gon' be alright. Gonna raise a glass and say, hey. Here's to the ones that we got. Cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Toast to the ones here today. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories. And the memories bring back your. Memories bring back your. There's a time that I remember when I never felt so low. And I felt all of the hatred. Too powerful to stop. Now my heart feel like an ember, and it's lighting up the dark. I'll carry these torches for you, cause you know I'll never drop. Yeah. Everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday. Yeah, yeah. But everything gon' be alright. Gonna raise a glass and say, hey. Here's to the ones that we got. Oh, cheers to the wish you were here, but you're not. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories of everything we've been through. Toast to the ones here today. Toast to the ones that we lost on the way. Cause the drinks bring back all the memories. And the memories bring back your. Memories bring back your. Memories bring back your. Memories bring back your. It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Give me all you got, don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, come on. Bring me down. Can't none bring me down. The love is too high. Bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said, bring me down. Can't none bring me down. The love is too high. Bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said, cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go. Bring me down, can't nothing bring me down. The love is too high to bring me down. Can't nothing bring me down. I said, cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Cause I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Hey, hey, hey. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Hey, clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Come on. Easy. Puro movimiento de cadera, mira. La cumbia zambuesana, la que baila con ganas. La cumbia zambuesana, la que baila con ganas. Muévete, muévete, negra. La cumbia zambuesana, la que baila con ganas. La cumbia zambuesana, la que baila con ganas. Pero que bajo. Pon.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're gonna get started with our next workshop. There's a question in the chat. So is CCP Assistance Lounge available in August? Are you talking about the application, the UC application? Lounge or the CCCP application. You can reply in the chat or unmute yourself if you're comfortable. But in the meantime, so Ashley is here. Is Omar here? Omar is here. Okay, is Charlene here? Let's see, Charlene. All right, I don't think Charlene is here yet, but we'll get started in the meantime. Alrighty, so this will be our graduate student panel. So you'll have the opportunity to learn from our graduate students here at UCLA about their experience from their undergrad to now they're in their PhD programs, and learn more about how the program is like, what their day-to-day is like, things like that. Feel free to put some questions in the chat. I will do like a time check around 2:40 to see if any of you all have questions, because we really want you all to learn from their experiences, especially if this is something that you're interested in pursuing. All right. So first, I would like to have Ashley and Omar introduce yourself. Let me make you guys spotlighted. Give me a sec. Alrighty, yay. Alrighty, so first off, can you both introduce yourself? Let's start with Ashley, so you can talk about your major in undergrad, the school you went to in undergrad, a master's if you have one, your PhD, what you're working on, and what your career goal is.
Hi, everyone. Like Aurelia said, I'm Ashley. My undergraduate was in Washington University in St. Louis. It's a school in Missouri. And my major during undergrad was chemistry and computer science. I was like really interested in chemistry, and I got a lot of advice from, my dad, who's an engineer, to like go towards coding. So I got some coding experiences in there as well. And afterwards, I went to a PhD program at UCLA, which is where I am right now. I've been here for 3 full years, so I'm going on my 4th year of my PhD program in physical chemistry. So I took a lot of classes, graduate classes, my first year, and then on my 2nd year, I got my master's. So, the 2-year master's program in science is kind of what our 2nd year candidacy exam is for our PhD program. And I'm kind of working on top of that to go get my PhD degree. My research is in chemistry, specifically in quantum confined materials or quantum computing materials. So if any of these words interest you, I can go into that further as well. So I would say a more broader category to put myself under would be nanoscience. So I work with a lot of nanoscale materials. And then I also am kind of like a laser scientist. So I'm a spectroscopist. So I work with a lot of different materials, and I shine light and study the light matter interactions. So that's my background. So I guess, toss it to Omar.
Hi everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Name's Omar Leon. I uh, I went to Kalamazoo College in Michigan. Yeah, just a parallel arts college. I went to it because I was able to get a tuition leadership scholarship from Posse Foundation. Some of you might know this, some of you might not know what it is. It's just a like an opportunity to get funding for college. Anyways, I studied chemistry with a minor in mathematics, and then I did research at a summer program in organic chemistry. And I ended up joining a physical chemistry slash materials chemistry at UCLA. So I'm like all over the place. So at UCLA, I was able to, same as Ashley, get my master's in the 2-year program that we are immediately or just apply to or get into as we enter as a PhD candidates. And through our candidacy exam, I was also able to advance to our PhD. So I do have a master's. Mine, I believe, is in materials chemistry because I am a materials chemistry student. In my lab, I study uh, again the word materials chemistry. I study specifically thermoelectrics and solar cells. Majorly, I study components of those materials in order to understand more about the physical and chemical properties that just make them, work well or work better, or how can we make them better. And I use physical chemistry methods to understand materials. What else? Oh, I don't know how important it is to mention, but I am not, if you hear an accent, I was not born in the US. I was born in Mexico and I immigrated here when I was around 12. So there was a few struggles with learning the language and understanding as a first gen student, understanding the ropes of, getting through education or getting my education. So if any of what I said interests you or you have any questions about it, please feel free to ask, and I'll be as honest as I can be. And yeah, that's pretty much my intro.
I actually do want to also add that I'm also a English as a second language speaker as well. So I came here from Korea in 2006, and I've been here since middle school. So yeah.
Thank you. All right. So the first question is, what was the application process like for you when you were applying to graduate school? What are some things students should know if they're considering applying? And what advice do you have for them? So Omar, would you like to go first? Since Ashley went first the last time.
Yeah, I can go first. So for me, because first gen, it was a bit stressful, because there was a lot of things going on at that time, and there was a lot of things to do. But it also seemed fun. I know. Hear me out, hear me out. It might be weird. It seemed fun because it was challenging. Because besides everything going on in my life at that point, with regards to family and other matters that don't come to the conversation right now, it was hard to fill out the applications and to fill out the same thing in hopes that one of them would say yes, because I was dealing with a lot of imposter syndrome at the time. So it just felt like, why should I even apply? There's no way I'm getting in. There's no way they'll accept me. um but I had people that supported me, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll try it. If it's not for me, at least for them, so that I can show them, I can do it. I can do it. And one thing I do want to say with regards to what some students should know when considering applying is you need to keep calm. Do not get overwhelmed. It's a lot, and it's a lot of information. It's a lot of repetitiveness, and it'll feel like, why do I have to do all this? But just keep calm and take it as a challenge. It could be fun if you really look at it and squint, but it is a bit of a lot process. But you got this. I know you got this. What this should I actually add anything?
All right. I definitely agree with Omar on trying to encourage you guys to not think that it's like too hard or whatever, but I do want to be a bit informative. So I don't know how familiar with application process in general people are here, but the college application process is very similar to the graduate school application process. I think I would say the emphasis is maybe different, but it's very similar. It's just an essay on, who you are, like personal statement. You definitely, depending on what type of school you're applying to, let it be business or science or whatever type of graduate school, they're going to want something that's relevant to that school, like a research statement if it's science related, motivation for like what business you want to go into, what industry for business schools and things like that. So for science, it's going to be a research statement, more on like your experiences. So having, one is like kind of showing that you have a lot of curiosity and thoughts concerning going into science, as well as if you have any experiences in research, as well as wanting to have experiences is also a really good thing to put on your statement, to do some, research on like what programs do that school provide. Oh, I really want to do that program. So like showing that you are serious is kind of like the first step in the application. You're not just like putting down information, but you're like trying to show enthusiasm. So yeah, so you have essays, you need to take tests. So you have to take a GRE test. And what else is there? Oh, you needed that also recommendation letters from your professors. So, if you're third or fourth year in college, or even earlier, it's thinking about establishing some, loose network connections with your professors, shooting them an email, a question, even if you're not even curious about the question, but just to get your name floating in their minds, would be a good thing to start doing. And what other stuff are there? But I mean, I'm sure there's information about this that Aurelia can also help with, that you can find online. But other than that, my personal experience has been a little rough for me. I actually didn't do super well in college. I wasn't the best performing student. I actually got below a 3.0, just like by a little bit GPA in college. And I felt really discouraged. I was going through a lot of hard times in college, kind of like, I was not in my best motivational space mentally. And so just all the circumstances, I think I was struggling a lot with motivating myself to study, as well as have like a disciplined schedule to go through all the work that you have to do for college, just like so much work in such little time. And so it was really tough for me. I personally took 1 year off to kind of work at a lab. So I was being paid, but I tried to like talk to this professor, and he offered me like, okay, get your bachelor's for 1 year. You could be like a lab scientist at my lab. And so that was my attempt at trying to make my application more robust, because, before that, I wasn't the best student. So looking at for like paid opportunities in research would also be very helpful. I think that that was something that set me aside as an applicant, was that I had such a paid experience to boost my application. And honestly, I didn't do too much. I just emailed a bunch of professors and asked if there's any opportunities around, and just asking will probably like I learned as a lesson in life in general, just asking people what's available can really get you really unique opportunities that you might not think of. That was pretty long. Any other questions out there?
That was perfect. No, that was great. That was great. So actually my next question kind of piggybacks off of what you were saying before about like the research and all that stuff. So the next question is, if a student is interested in applying to a graduate program, are they expected to already have a research project in mind or a research advisor before applying to the program? And if so, how would they go about finding like an advisor or presenting their project, things like that? So anyone could go first.
I can go first. Okay. So it really depends on the. I think it depends on the school they're applying to. But based on the ones that I applied, I got in and I was able to like go and talk to the professors, talk to the people. Must give you opportunities to meet multiple professors, before picking one. So you are not coming in with a dead-on project or research. Um, so, but you should come in with an idea of what subject or what kind of research you want to perform, or what is it that you want out of a group, because that will definitely help you pick groups that are like um, more towards what you want to do and how you're feeling, and make you feel comfortable and make you feel like you do belong there, which is a really important aspect of graduate school. For example, I wanted to work with renewable energy. So when I was looking for professors, I wanted to look into batteries, solar, thermoelectrics, anything like that. And I was able to find a couple. And then from those, I was able to like go and talk to them and talk to the students in their groups and see which one fit my my own personal work, like how I work, how I talk to people, whether like I felt like I belong there, whether they were supporting me and things like that. And how that's how I picked my group. So I guess a more direct answer to your question is, it's I don't think you need to have a data on research break. I'm going to do this one chemical and I'm going to test it with this one material and I'm going to find this one thing. No, you should have, oh, I want to do energy. I want to do lasers. I want to do computers. I want to do calculations. And then from there, okay, which group fits what I want to do? The science is important, but it's more important that you feel comfortable and you feel like you belong there, because it is a 5 year long, at least 5 year long commitment.
Yeah, just to add on to that. So even if you're not applying for a 5-year program, there's a lot of 1 and 2 year programs out there also during after college, or like hybrid programs like that. And for any processes like this where you're looking for like a higher education application, I think knowing the subcategories, like you apply to a chemistry program, that's what I'm familiar with. But there's actually a lot of different umbrellas, right? There's organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, physical chemistry, and those are all listed under the program website. And I think at least knowing which one that interests you in that level is important, especially because I would gear your application like around that, because too generic of an application can be pretty dull. Like you definitely want to be strategic with, oh, like being a memorable applicant, right? So you want to be like, oh, this person huge on organic chemistry, like they really want to, like you definitely want to be impressionable like that. So knowing what professors are there for what category of whatever, like chemistry, physics, engineering, whatever you want to do, I think that level of figuring out is important. But beyond that, after getting into the program and things like that, it's mostly curiosity driven, and like whatever you want to do and explore is something that technically should be supported. It would definitely depend on like who you work for, what program to. But in general, in scientific grad schools, I would say that it depends on like what you want to do, but it might take months or years to figure that out. And so I would say, long answer short, like application strategy, I would try to figure out like what you want to sell it with, and go towards like what you know and what you like. And then in terms of the broad, like 1 year, 2 year span out of graduation, I think it's okay to be more explorative. You don't have to know what exactly you want to do.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you for your responses. Okay, so the next question is, how many classes are typical for you in a quarter, and how much time is left for research after your classes? So Ashley, you can go first.
Yeah, of course. So for a PhD program, usually you take classes on the first year or the second year. Usually I'm more familiar with just having your first year full classes, and then like just maybe a little bit later or not at all. But the first year is pretty heavy, not as heavy actually as an undergraduate set of classes. I feel like I was a lot more busy in undergraduate school, because I would be taking like 4 or 5 classes, and they would like fill up my weeks, and all the homeworks and all the tests are like overlapping, so I had to like navigate that. But for in grad school, I would say you take like 2 really hard classes and maybe like 1 more on top of that per quarter or semester, but it's like really hard. And so you would have to like really bring your A game in terms of like being on top of not procrastinating. Obviously, people procrastinate. I did too, but I had to develop these like side skills. Like studying is not like a one skill thing. Maybe I didn't really realize that when I was younger, but growing up, kind of trying to survive in these classes. You know, I realized that one, I do much better when I can talk to other people or work with other people. So I realized that like I need to study in study groups or with my friends. And so class day one, I was out there trying to make friends. And that was actually a studying strategy. So I think figuring out how to, what works best for you personally to process a lot of information is something that I had to work on in my first year in classes. So grad school courses, I would say 2, 3 a quarter semester. They tend to be hard. And you just have to really figure out like what skill set that you need in order to battle that yourself.
So for me, I'm with Ashley in that it was a lot more time spent on classes and just a lot more time spent on academic stuff in undergrad. Um, so yes, I also had to do with 5 or so classes a quarter. In grad school, we deal with 3. Um, the major thing is that uh, because not a lot of time is spent with the professor leading you through the material, but rather just presenting the material. I feel like uh, you just have to also be reliant on yourself to self teach some of the material. Um, Now, with regards with how much time is left for research, I myself did not join a group until I was almost basically spring quarter. So that's to tell you that's like 2/3 of the way done with the first year. And the first year, at least in UCLA, is the hardest because you just have the most classes. And because of that, I was able to focus on my classes, on my courses. But that also meant that I had this anxiety on the back of, is any lab gonna pick me? So I had to trade that off. So I did not do research until the spring quarter of my first year. And by that time, I only had like 2 instead of 3 classes. I had some time to actually do research and still engage with the material at the classes. But that's like that was my circumstance. What I think is that it really depends on what the professor is asking, but I feel like, in my opinion, and I'm not sure how open I can be with all of you about this. I hope this is not going past that, but if the professor is asking you to spend a bunch of time doing research while you're taking classes, really consider whether you should stay on that group. And that's just my opinion. This does not represent UCLA or any other researching. This is just my opinion as Omar. Uh, yeah, and yeah, I don't think I can add any much more. I actually really completed the answer.
Great, thanks, Omar. And then Ashley, you had a question in the chat.
Yeah, so I guess speaking of classes, this is more about what classes to take in college, I think. So somebody asked me on chat whether what classes to take. There are physical chemistry students. They've taken organic chemistry and biology and calculus. Should they take statistics, and is that an important class in a career in chemistry, or is it better to concentrate in chemistry classes and learn how to use Excel and communication skills? All right, so I'll try to answer that question. So I think if you want to go into a career in chemistry, definitely taking the basic classes in college is important. And when I say basic, like the introductory classes in the different branches. So usually the go-to is general chemistry, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry. And then I think anything specialized beyond that is more towards like what curiosity you have. Like for me, like I was really fascinated by the physical chemistry classes. And so that's why I took those. And then there I realized that, oh, this is like a whole different field that I didn't really know about. And so I think taking classes that interest you beyond the introductory chemistry class is good in terms of showing what you're interested in. In terms of non-chemistry skills or classes. I personally have benefited a lot from my coding background. So if you're willing to take some computer science courses, that'd be really good, especially in data analysis. So you don't have to take like really heavy computer science, but whatever gets you familiar with like Excel, MATLAB, like Origin, anything data analysis related, I feel like the basics of that could be really useful for research in general. Other skills that I think you could take a class on during undergraduate for like for other soft skills that would help you in grad school is for sure like writing. I think scientific writing, nonfiction writing will be really, really good. Presentation. So if you take like debate or go to like debate club or do anything involving presentations, like a poster presentation or just increasing your exposure to that will also very much help. And third, I would say actually just in general, how to have discussion with people. So exposing yourself to intellectual discussion opportunities, I think could be pretty helpful as well for anything, like any subject, but for like higher level like skill schools. Okay, so that was that question. I see another question on general. It says about my low GPA and I didn't have a strict schedule. May I ask how you figure out the strategy and get back on track because I'm on the same situation? All right, so I don't think I can provide like a miracle solution. It's like, here, follow these 3 rules and you're going to be good to go. Definitely can't provide that because I didn't even do college very well. But here are some lessons that I learned through my own struggles. So my struggles were specifically on one, I think I had really high expectations to the point that it was kind of like unrealistic expectations for myself. Like the more and more I got behind, I was like, I'm going to aim for catching like 100% back up. So, I would schedule, like I'm a planner. So I tried to plan the quarter, but it backfired because I would aim to like constantly edit my schedule so that I'm like catching up to grade A. But like if I'm that behind, it's not very realistic to aim for like, let's say my understanding was at a C and I was aiming for an A. Like that would be really demotivating just looking back, right? Which is exactly what happened. I should have aimed for like a B and then set myself a more realistic expectation that I could like really nail. And so I think understanding my process of like what type of expectations putting on myself helps me motivate myself and also do better was something that I struggled with in college. And then the second thing is I don't think I had a very good understanding of a healthy but productive mental health schedule. So like I was just taught like you want to make it, you work, like you do it, you keep doing it and like whatever. But not really. You actually need to be rested and you need to be happy and like feel good about yourself and believe in yourself in order for you to like keep doing the work. And so I think, self-care and scheduling that in as well as, and prioritizing that as much as, you need to get this much work done for the school is also something that I didn't figure out that I wish I did when I was in college. So I would think about those things in terms of strategy. I think the most effective for studying would be like, go ask your TAs for help. Don't be afraid of their judging, like they're there to help you. And if they're making you feel bad, then whatever, brush it off and focus on whatever help that you can get from them. You know what I mean? So I would advise that for just immediate things. They can at least help you prioritize which ones to focus on. So that'll be really good to ask the TA for the course you're struggling through.
Thank you, Ashley. There's another question in the chat, but I'll get back to that one later. I want to ask another question that I have prepared, which I think will be a kind of hot topic question. So a lot of people are like worried about funding their undergraduate education, and we're answering a lot of questions about that. So can you guys talk about how you're funding your graduate education? Are you working as a TA or lab assistant? Like, how are you funding that? So let's start with Omar.
Hi. Okay. So, I think it again. It's really up to the experience, the opportunities, and how much you reach out to people, and which lab you land, and a lot of stuff like that. I'll talk from my experience and a bit of a general experience in the sense that some people follow this. Um, I am required to work as a TA because my lab doesn't have as much funding. It has funding to buy materials and to continue the research, but not so much as to fund the students for a full year or things like that. I think we do get funded on the summer, some parts of the summer, and I think the professor recently with a grant we got, he's gonna be funding a bit of our throughout the year. Now, with this in mind, I was able to when I applied to the Robles Cota I think fellowship, or yeah, which gives you some funding for a few years. I think it's 2 years. I did not get it, but I know of people that did. With that, again, it's just within the application of applying to grad school. I myself later on applied to this diversity fellowship that UCLA offered, and I was able to get that, and I was funded for a whole year. So I was not required to tea at that time. But if I am not funded by outside sources because my lab doesn't have as much funding, I will be working as a teaching assistant. Um, that's the most direct answer I can provide you with. But there is a lot of opportunities for like people to apply to fellowships, scholarships, things like that. You just have to really search for them, and it is a personal kind of thing where you have to go for them. Although the school, at least UCLA, did send some notifications of like things that we could apply to. Right?
Um, I guess I'll share my experience too. So I'll try to be quick because I know we're short on time. But for grad school, so American grad school, PhD specifically is unique in that you're funded. So like Omar described, you're guaranteed a paid position as either a TA, you're funded by some other fellowship or funding resource, internal or external. That's kind of, you're less worried about it. You don't get paid a lot, but you definitely get paid a little depending on each state, but like you get paid like a wage that you can live on. For additional expenses, I tutor. I apply for also other type of fundings. You know, if I'm part of I'm part of an organization that's like for outreach, and it gives me a little stipend every semester, things like that. Um, in terms of undergraduate degree, I was a recipient of the Pell Grant. So it's like a federal grant that you can be under if your family makes like less than a certain amount. I fortunately went to a college that had a career or financial counselor. So I basically went to the financial offices and I was like, okay, I don't have enough money. Can you help me? And they actually responded positively, increased my grant. So that is definitely something you can do is just go talk to your financial business office or whatever in your school, and they're usually open to helping you. Worst case scenario is 0. They can't really take away any of the stipends that you're assigned. But other than that, I would say, I have my family, like my parents support me sometimes. But usually I was able to get grants, and tutoring was like my main tutoring and TAing were my main income sources in college.
Great. Thank you guys. So we're getting some really great questions in the chat. So one question is, the student understands that pursuing a master's or a PhD is a very personal decision, but they want to know, in both of your opinions, other than research, is there any other reasons to pursue a master's or a PhD? So Ashley, would you like to start?
Yeah, so there's I would say there's not like a blanket statement of if it's good or bad, because it would definitely depend on your career trajectory. but usually getting a master's or a PhD degree will allow you to be considered for more higher paying jobs and more jobs that have more responsibilities at different companies. And at some competitive companies, that's like a cutting mark. Some others, it doesn't have to. You know, for instance, if you have a master's student that graduated with like a business degree, you know, you go to business school, versus somebody who had, you know, 2-3 years of working experience at a specific field, like that might be competitive enough for either to be considered for a job, but it really depends on the company and the industry. So I would just think about, you know, when you're debating between going to a graduate program to a job, I would actually try to think about what job you want in 5 to 10 years, like after graduation, and whether or not that job requires, or that job, getting that job would be easier with a higher degree.
Um, Actually, I already answered most of it, but I'll add my grain of sand. As my personal experience, I want to be a professor. In order to be a professor, usually you need a master's or higher. So because of that, I cannot be a professor at a college or at a university without having that required degree. So some jobs or some applications do require that degree. So yes, it really depends if you're going into industry, but if you're going into academia or research, it does require that sense. And as Ashley mentioned, a major factor would be that you're able to qualify for higher paying positions, or just in general higher positions that will allow you to even keep increasing more your I guess, position within companies or within places. Because sometimes, even if you have a lot of experience, 10 years of experience, if you don't have a high degree, you can only reach so far in the company. And then with a high degree, you can just keep going up and up and up. So it really, again, really depends on the industry, where you're going, what you want to do. But that is why I chose to pursue this degree.
I also want to add that I think there's increasingly less penalty for taking your time in between different degrees. So I don't think you necessarily have to rush to go to higher degree schools anymore. There's a lot less stereotyping, well, at least at UCLA that I've seen and in the circles that I'm a part of. And so I think taking your time is encouraged if you want to take a few years to work, and then go. I know that's really common in business. It's, I think, less common in science. But yeah.
All right, thanks, guys. So the next question that's in the chat is, what do you do when you get burnt out and run out of motivation? How do you keep getting your work done, and when you reach that point? So Omar, would you like to start?
Yeah, so that happened to me a lot in college and also grad school. It just really happens. Um, in college, in undergrad, I mostly focus on taking breaks. And I know it's like, but the research document or like the essay is due in 3 days. What am I going to do? Yeah, but at least for me, it was like if I'm stressing over those 3 days trying to write one or two sentences, it won't do anything. So why don't I just take one day, like just relax, go talk to friends, make sure I'm communicating, I'm with people, not alone. I'm with people, and I'm doing things that I like, just relaxing, and that way I'll come refreshing. So the next day I'll have 2 days, yes, but I'll be a lot more fresher. So instead of writing one, two sentences, I'll be writing a whole paragraph. So just taking breaks. It's really weird how some people don't understand, or it's hard to like get to that point of like, oh, I need a break right now, but it is really important. It's so important to just take a break sometimes and like take a breather, but make sure, at least in my opinion, make sure you're with people, because if you're alone, you're gonna be an anxious wreck ball, and you will not be able to relax and de-stress. You'll just be, oh my gosh, I have to do this, oh my gosh, I have to do this, but I'm supposed to be relaxing, but I'm not relaxing, and it just becomes a huge bad thing. um so that's what I think. You should take a break. When you're out of motivation to continue or anything like that, listen to your favorite songs. Listen to music that reminds you of people that you're close to, people that you feel like you like. They sometimes, and this is from my own experience. I'm a very familiar person, so I care about a lot about my family. So sometimes when I feel like I couldn't keep going, and I need a reminder of like my family and the fact that I'm Christian, the fact that I need to do this not just for them but also for me, but also for them. I would put music like that my mom like or that my dad like, and even if I don't really like it, it reminded me of that stance. But again, it's really important to take breaks. And I think I'll leave it at that. Ashley.
Yeah, so I would kind of go more conceptual here then, because I think Omar did a good, personal sharing of like how he handled motivation. So I kind of think about motivation to study and like work kind of as like, what kind of runner am I? Like, am I a long distance runner? Am I a sprinter? Do I run more or better if I were playing soccer, or do I more like running on my own, like jogging? So these are all analogies for like, I still don't know myself, but I think I've gotten better at trying to understand whether like, oh, do I work better at 30-minute productivity? Like I'll work for 30 minutes, take a 10-minute break or whatever. I'm currently doing 50-minute work and 10-minute break like every hour. But some people like to just go 2 hours straight, take an hour break, like that kind of stuff. So I think honestly, the interval, like figuring out what interval works best for you could be pretty helpful. And then the second thing is, like Omar said, like, do you work better with friends? Do you work better outside? You can be alone at a cafe, but having other people around you motivates me. So being outside just around people. I often just ask different people in my friend group to just like, okay, I need to do this by tomorrow at 5. So can you check in on me tomorrow morning and ask me how far I've gone? And honestly, they don't care, but them asking me and me caring a little bit about telling them that, not telling them that I didn't do anything motivates me to like actually try to get something done by that time. So I work well with some like flexible deadlines. So I try to play with that a little bit. I also try to, motivate myself with like gifts and whatever that I find reward in. So I think it's really about kind of figuring out what works best for you. Because in college, I think I just had a very like inflexible understanding of like what studying was, where I was like, okay, I needed to be sat at my table. And I think my dad used to tell me like, if you don't get a nosebleed during college just from like studying too hard, you're not working enough. And he was obviously joking, but that kind of portrays the, you need to have that respectable like determination. But really it's more about like finding out what dynamic works best for you, and what dynamic makes you study the best. If it's a candle, music on in the background, then go for it. Yeah.
Thanks. It's so funny because a lot of the things that you are sharing, like, is things that I do, like the whole candle burning thing. Like I have like this one same candle that I always burn when I'm studying. It's so funny, but yeah. All right. So we're running out of time, but I do have two last questions. So the second to last question is, what other graduate programs did you apply to, and why did you end up choosing UCLA? So Omar, would you like to go?
Sure. So I applied to three others. I applied to Vanderbilt. I applied to USC. I applied to Wisconsin Madison, and I applied to Western Michigan, and that's because it was like close to Columbus. Um, so I got into just you. Oh, and I applied to UC Riverside and UC Santa Barbara. Sorry, I applied to a bunch. I only got into the UCs. I got into UC Riverside, UCLA, and USC. I guess USC is not a UC. The reason why I picked mostly west, like on the west side, is because I wanted to be with my family because my dad's sick, but that doesn't come into the conversation. Anyways, the reason why I picked UCLA was because when I visited and when I talked to people, it was the only place from the three that I visited that seemed a lot like more collaborative, more collaborations. Like literally, that's why I picked it. Well, another one was that they do have materials chemistry. USC doesn't have materials chemistry. They have people that do materials, but they don't have materials chemistry. They have inorganic, organic, physical, theory, and yeah, but they don't have materials as a subject. But UCLA did, and that encouraged me. And the last part and the main part was that I just felt like there was a lot more collaboration and familiar feeling among the graduate students, even if they didn't like some of the PIs, they still liked each other in some way. So I felt like it was a good environment for me to just like grow. Again, I'm really talking from the personal, and I feel like I'm leaving Ashley to talk about the main ideas and concepts in out here. But yes, that's why I picked it.
I actually have a pretty similar answer. I applied to California mostly because I grew up. I went to middle school and high school in California to experience something new, and I realized I took California weather for granted, and I learned my lesson. And so I was like, I'm not going anywhere besides California for my higher degree. So that was a decision made. I was like, I'm not going to be happy anywhere else. So I just California. I got into UCLA and I think I got into Santa Barbara. But I didn't really get into anywhere else, and I'm pretty happy with UCLA. And yeah, I think that's basically it. I applied to like about 10, I think, in California. Did try to get a lot of different schools in there.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. All right, and so the last question that I have is, what advice do you have for students who are thinking about pursuing a graduate degree in the sciences? So any words of encouragement, words of wisdom that you've learned along your journey? So Ashley, would you go first?
So I definitely have a lot of different advice, and I give personalized advice too. If you guys want to email, I welcome that. Please email me if you want to, or scientific careers in general. But I guess the one advice would be find the enthusiasm, because as long as you like the curiosity and you're like, I want to do this, and they're being like, I want to do it. And I think the willingness and wanting to, the excitement of it all actually brings a lot of doors, opens a lot of doors, regardless of what your background or your skill level is in that. For grad school, it's yes, it's about studying, but also it's about like, you can learn new skills if you want to. You just have to believe in yourself and be like, I want to do this. So I think that's good advice is, what are you enthusiastic about, and try to really sell that in your application, as well as the way that you approach grad school.
So I think Ashley already touched on a few points, but I am a poet, so I will say it in 3 words. But first, I do have to say a preface for it. Whether you're coming from like a not so well off family, whether you're first gen, whether this is your second, third, fourth language you're learning, whether we're not even born in the U.S. and this is like a whole new experience, whether you're the one leading the torch, whether it's just like you have any other uh, predisposition or something that makes you feel like you lack. Um, the 3 words or the 3 phrases I have is stay strong, you're not alone, and please reach out. There will be people with similar experiences that have gone through there. So just reach out, and there will be people willing to help. It takes time, effort, and a lot of strength to reach out. Um, but if you reach out, I think you got this.
Thank you so much, Omar and Ashley, for your time and sharing your experiences and your narrative through your academic journey. We really, really appreciate both of your stories and the time that you took out to be here. As stated before, they both have left their emails in the chat, so please take a note of their emails. Feel free to email them any of your additional questions that we may not have been able to get to. And I also just want to give a special shout out to Ashley. We're actually working really closely to try to come up with some new collaborative ways to partner with the Chem and Biochemistry department to bring you guys some more opportunities at UCLA. So thank you so much, Ashley, for all of the work that you put into that as well. So this concludes the day. I do have a couple of announcements regarding the next couple of webinars that we're having. So I'm going to share my screen. Give me a sec. Okay. Alrighty, so the next workshop that's coming up for us is the Power to the Diverse Asian American Transfer Student Experience. That will be happening on Wednesday, August 4th. So they're going to be starting at 9:30 a.m. So it's a little bit earlier than we started today. So the morning session will be 9:30 a.m. to 12. Afternoon will be 1 to 3, and then peer circles will be 3:15 to 4 p.m. So you'll have an opportunity to speak with your colleagues, other students that to facilitate community within your group in terms of breakout sessions, and also we'll have a time to collaborate and speak with our peer advisors and get to know our peer advisors going into the academic year. If you're interested in attending and registering for this webinar, please scan the QR code on the screen to RSVP. So they will send you the Zoom link for the day. And then here is the rest of the webinars that we have coming up for the rest of the summer. So all of the ones at the top has already passed. So we've already done parenting. Today concludes STEM. We've done men of color, QT BIPOC. And then the next webinar will be the diverse Asian American experience. After that will be formerly incarcerated system impacted students, foster students, veteran, differently abled, African American, Black, Native American and Pacific Islander, first generation, Southeast Asian, non-traditional, undocumented, and Chicanx Latinx webinars. So feel free to take a screenshot of this and also to scan the QR code for the flyer for all of the webinars that are coming up. You can also follow us on Instagram at CCCP_UCLA, where we will be highlighting the additional presenters for the other webinars coming up. So you'll get more information about those. And then feel free to follow us on Instagram for the STEM initiative at CCCP_STEM, where we'll be talking more about the STEM applications, transferring the application process for the UC system, any additional resources offered to transfer students. And we're also here to answer any questions that you may have regarding the process. And we'll be starting having to have office hours for our STEM peer advisors for the rest of the summer and going into the fall academic year. All right, so, oh wow, thanks Blanca, she shared everything in the chat. Blanca's amazing. So yeah, if there's no other questions, thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate your time that you are here. Here's some more information. Here's our main email address, cccp@college.ucla.edu. Feel free to call us at 310-267-4441. If someone doesn't answer, please leave a message. We'll get back to you. And again, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Feel free to take a screenshot of this slide and scan the QR code for our main website that has all of the flyers for our summer programs. And then we'll be keeping you updated on the things that we are planning for the fall. Oh yes, thank you, Paula. Paula is one of our peer advisors. She's a peer advisor for ELAC. She's also a STEM peer advisor. So if you have any questions about her experience, feel free to email her. All of our peer advisors are here to help you through your academic journey. So please utilize their experience and their expertise because they've already gone through the process that you all are entering. Again, we're here to help you to be successful in getting to your dream school, whether it is UCLA, another UC, a Cal State, a private school, something out of state, whatever. We just want you to transfer and be successful at the university that you transfer to. All right. So if there's no other questions, thank you so much. Again, if you want to review any of the workshops that we've had today, We have the Power to the STEM transfer website. Let me stop sharing so I can give you the websites. Oh, my bad. All right, so all of our other peer advisors also shared their email accounts, so their email addresses. So Johan is one of our STEM peer advisors. Kalia is awesome. She's a math major, also a STEM peer advisor and a peer advisor for LA Southwest College. Nazanin is another peer advisor. So Johan and Nazanin are like the main STEM, like they're just STEM. They're just here to help STEM people. But then Kalia and everyone else, they have partnerships. They're assigned a partnership school. So if you're enrolled at ELAC, Paola will be the great person to speak to. If you are enrolled in Los Angeles Southwest College, Kalia will be a great person to speak to. We also have two additional peer advisors who aren't able to be here with us today. So Vanessa, I'm gonna put the link to our website in the chat because it has all this information on our website. So Vanessa is also another peer advisor. She's assigned to Pasadena City College. And then we also have Fatima, who's assigned to the Los Angeles Pierce College. So these are all STEM peer advisors, resources for you to ask them questions. Feel free to make an appointment, email them so they can book an appointment with you, all right? All right. Thank you also. Shout out to Blanca. She was here the whole time. We really appreciate Blanca. She's the reason why we have these really cool snazzy backgrounds. She's the reason why we have all the flyers going around social media. She's the reason why you know information about our panelists and our presenters today. Like, thank you so much, Blanca. We really, really appreciate your support. All right. That's it. If you have any questions, I'll be here for a couple of more minutes. So put them in the chat. But thank you all so much for being here, and please people look out for any additional emails from us regarding some more activities for the academic year. All right, thank you.